This video truly restores the scene of F-14 fighting MiG-23. January 1989 was at a time when U.S.-Liberia relations were extremely tense. A USS Kennedy aircraft carrier took off two F-14 Panda fighter jets while crossing the Gulf of Hydra in the Mediterranean Sea. On the surface, the two F-14s were on an exercise mission to protect a pair of A-6 attack aircraft, but it was actually to protect an E-2 Hawkeye electronic reconnaissance aircraft that was obtaining communications intelligence. Soon, the E-2 early warning aircraft discovered two MiG-23 fighter jets on the radar, headed straight in their direction from Brooke Air Force Base. This put the two American F-14 fighter jets on alert immediately, went ahead and intercepted. The reason why this happened was, it's because the relationship between the two parties has always been tense. In addition, the Lockerbie air disaster that shocked the world occurred in December 1988. All fingers were pointed at Gaddafi. This made the United States extremely wary of Libya and adopted new rules of engagement for Libya, allowed pilots to fire autonomously under special circumstances. Soon, the American F-14 fighter jets used radar to lock the Libyan MiG-23 fighter jets. The distance between the two sides was about 50 miles at this time. But then the two F-14 fighter jets deviated from the direction of the MiG-23 at an angle of 33 degrees. It flew towards the east. The reason why the F-14 fighter did this is because of the new engagement order regulations. If they encounter Libyan fighter jets coming to intercept, they must first make 3 turns greater than 30 degrees to stay away from the Libyan fighter jets. This was used to issue a warning to Libyan fighter jets. If Libyan fighter jets still continue to approach, they can then attack directly. The first warning was over. F-14 found that the MiG-23 fighter jet also turned with them. Keep driving towards them. So it entered a state of combat. It quickly dropped from 20,000 feet to 3,000 feet. At this time, the MiG-23 was at an altitude of 8,000 feet. The MiG-23's radar can only scan downward. The clutter on the sea will interfere with the MiG-23 radar and missile systems to a certain extent. However, the F-14 was at a looking-up viewing angle, made it easier for radar to lock on MiG-23. After the altitude descent was complete, F-14 conducted a second angle offset navigation to the right. The two Libyan MiG-23s also followed suit and made a second turn, and increased the speed and flew towards the direction of F-14. After the second angular offset, the F-14 fighter jet wants to request permission to fire, but it was rejected by the E-2 early warning aircraft, because both sides are now in international airspace. Rules must be followed. The F-14 had no choice but to fly at an offset angle to the left again. The MiG-23 continued to follow the F-14 in its turn, get closer to them. The distance between the two sides was now less than 18 miles. After 3 turns are completed, the F-14 finally gained the authority to fire freely. So one of the F-14s immediately raised its nose. A Sparrow missile was launched first about 13 miles from the MiG-23. This happened to be the maximum range of the Sparrow missile at that time. But the lock switch of this Sparrow missile failed. So much so that it failed to successfully lock on the MiG-23. So the shot missed. After a few seconds, the F-14 fired a second Sparrow missile about 10 miles away from the MiG-23. But the same problem occurred again. The Sparrow missile still failed to lock on to the MiG-23. 2 Sparrow missiles with a total value of more than $2 million were wasted. So the two F-14s immediately carried out defensive breakthroughs separately. Get ready to fire again. The two MiG-23s chased the F-14 on the left. In this way, F-14, which breaks through to the right, had a new attack opportunity. Another Sparrow missile was fired at the MiG-23 at a distance of 5 miles. This time, the Sparrow missile successfully locked and tracked one of the MiG-23s. The MiG-23 was hit by it directly without noticing it at all. A violent explosion occurred instantly. The pilot ejected successfully in time and was able to escape. The MiG-23 it saw traveling with it was destroyed. Another MiG-23 tried to distance itself, but it was followed closely by another F-14. After a few seconds of locking time, the pilot of the F-14 also pressed the launch button. A Sidewinder missile was launched towards the MiG-23. Another successful hit. The MiG-23 exploded and quickly fell into the sea, although the pilot of this MiG-23 also successfully ejected. But because this was in international airspace, far from the coast, so the pilots of both planes were never found later. The next 2 F-14 fighter jets that completed the combat mission turned back to the USS Kennedy. This was the end of the second air battle over Sidra Bay so far. It took less than 480 seconds from start to finish. What do you think of it?